This presentation will provide an overview of the entire grant proposal solicitation process. In preparing to submit a concept proposal, the first and most important thing to do is read the Request for Concept Proposals, or RFCP. What we are reviewing here is covered in greater detail in the RFCP. The areas covered are listed here and include information about the program, the solicitation timeline, how to apply, and frequently asked questions. The purpose of the SCBGP is to enhance the competitiveness of California specialty crops. This means that a proposed project must pertain to issues that affect the specialty crop industry and focus on improving the competitiveness of specialty crops. For a project to be allowable under this program, the proposal must clearly demonstrate that all activities and costs benefit the specialty crop industry rather than directly benefit or provide a profit to a single organization, institution, or individual. If you are already familiar with the SCBGP, here are a few of the changes to the program this year. A new program priority was added to Funding Area 1 that emphasizes projects that include stewardship educational initiatives, including economic opportunity, equitable labor practices, and/or environmental stewardship as part of marketing campaigns. This was added to encourage stewardship practices that are in line with CDFA's Ag Vision 2030 priority to promote a healthier planet through agricultural stewardship of the natural resource base upon which California and food production depends. Funding Area 2, Category B, was changed from equipping current and next generation farmers to equity, opportunity, and education for all California specialty crop farmers. This change was made in conjunction with CDFA's Farm Equity Advisor to better address increasing equity and opportunity for socially disadvantaged farmers. In addition, the program priorities in this funding category have been revamped to reflect this effort and to include priorities that address the issues with workplace safety and changing market conditions that have arisen due to COVID-19. In Funding Area 3, which focuses on research, the outreach requirement has been updated to encourage outreach to historically underserved and socially disadvantaged farmers. And there was a minor change to one of the priorities in the Plant Health and Pest Management funding category to emphasize some alternative, innovative methods for addressing pest and disease threats. The Additional Assistance for Historically Underrepresented Organizations program, also referred to as the Additional Assistance Program, has been included again this year. Note that the program priorities for this program have been expanded to include program priorities from Funding Area 2. And lastly, there have been some minor changes to the allowable and unallowable costs and activities table. As always, we recommend you refer to the current table as you prepare your proposal. So what are specialty crops? Specialty crops are defined as fruits, including dried fruits, vegetables, and tree nuts, culinary and medicinal herbs and spices, and nursery, floriculture, and horticulture crops. Funds must not benefit non-specialty crops such as dairy, livestock, or any other ineligible commodities. Note that cannabis is not a specialty crop. A list of eligible and ineligible commodities can be found on the USDA's website. This list is not intended to be all-inclusive, but rather to give examples of the most common specialty crops. If there is a commodity you are questioning that is not on the eligible specialty crop list, please send us an email and we'll be happy to ask the USDA for clarification. So this is how funding for the program works. The USDA receives funding from the Farm Bill, then approved funding goes to CDFA, and CDFA subawards funds to recipients. To provide an idea of the program's competitiveness, historically, CDFA has funded approximately 23% of proposals submitted. In 2020, CDFA received approximately $23 million. Expecting roughly the same amount this year, CDFA will award grant funds to projects ranging from $50,000 to $450,000. And please note that CDFA reserves the right to offer an award amount less than the amount requested. In addition, the grant duration is 2 years, 6 months, beginning November 1, 2021 and ending April 30th, 2024. Note that we'll cover the Additional Assistance Program later in the presentation. However, the funding and duration for projects submitted to this program are different, with awards ranging from between $25,000 and $100,000, and the grant duration being 2 years that fall within the November 1, 2021 to April 30, 2024 timeframe. Entities eligible to apply to the SCBGP include nonprofit and for-profit organizations, local, state, federal, and tribal government entities, and public and private colleges and universities. Importantly, individuals may not apply. An individual is someone submitting an application on their own behalf rather than as a representative of an organization or institution. If you are an individual and you have an idea for a project, we encourage you to partner with one of these organizations. Note again that the eligibility for the Additional Assistance Program is different, and we will review the specific requirements later in this presentation. The solicitation process is a two-phase process. In Phase 1, applicants submit concept proposals for their projects, proposals go through an administrative and technical review, and applicants with successful proposals are invited to participate in Phase 2, submission of a grant proposal. CDFA will advise all applicants whether or not they are invited to submit a grant proposal. In Phase 2, applicants submit a grant proposal that contains a more detailed description of their projects. For applicants invited back, the feedback from the administrative and the technical reviews will be available in FAST to assist in preparation of the grant proposal. For all other applicants, the feedback will be provided within 60 days. Proposals that are successful in Phase 2 will be submitted to the USDA for review. Once the USDA announces awards, we notify both the successful and the unsuccessful applicants, and feedback from the review process will be provided for unsuccessful applicants, and grant agreements will be initiated for applicants that will be awarded funds. As mentioned, concept and grant proposals undergo two levels of review, the administrative review and the technical review. The administrative review is an internal review conducted by CDFA to verify proposal completeness and eligibility requirements in accordance with program guidelines. So in other words, were all the questions answered? Was the correct budget template attached? Were all the costs allowable, etc. The technical review is an external review conducted by a committee comprised of growers and representatives from the industry. Technical review committee members use their expertise to evaluate proposals based on individual merit and consider many factors, including if the proposed project is a priority for the specialty crop industry and the proposal's likelihood for success. Please note that the press release soliciting technical reviewers is accessible on the CDFA SCBGP website. We encourage those who are interested in participating as a technical reviewer to visit our website for more information. If you have questions about being a technical reviewer, please contact us via the grants email at grants@cdfa.ca.gov. As noted in the beginning, the timeline for the entire solicitation process can be found in the RFCP. Please note that concept proposals are due on Friday, October 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and that late submissions will not be accepted. Applicants will be notified in January whether or not they are invited to Phase 2, and will have approximately 1 month to submit grant proposals. The Technical Review Committee has about the same amount of time to review grant proposals and submit recommendations to CDFA, which will then be presented at a public meeting in April. CDFA will submit the proposal recommendations to the USDA in May and wait for the USDA's final say regarding what projects receive funding. We anticipate announcing and awarding funds in the fall of 2021. The SCBGP has 3 funding areas: market enhancement, access education and training, and research. Within each funding area, there are 1 or 2 funding categories. As part of the concept proposal, applicants must select the funding category for which their project is most appropriate. Further, each funding category contains several program priorities. Projects must address at least one of the program priorities listed under the selected funding category. For example, if an applicant determines that their project best fits in Research Category A, which is Environmental Stewardship and Conservation, they'll need to also select at least one program priority within the Environmental Stewardship and Conservation funding category. The program priorities are listed on the next few slides, but more importantly, can also be found in the RFCP. In addition, as mentioned earlier, this year CDFA will again award funds to the Additional Assistance Program, which will be discussed in more detail in just a moment. Within the Market Enhancement funding area, there's only one funding category, Category A, which is called Grown in California. Proposals submitted to this category should enhance the marketability and long-term competitiveness of specialty crops by leveraging the unique qualities of specialty crops grown in California. In other words, they should highlight the unique qualities and characteristics of specialty crops because they are grown in California. There are 7 program priorities within this funding category. This slide shows the first 3, and here are the remaining 4. Although we won't review the program priorities here, please reference the RFCP and read each one carefully to determine which program priority or priorities are best for your project. The next funding area is Access, Education, and Training. This funding area has 2 funding categories. Funding Category A is called Healthy Specialty Crops for All Californians. Proposals submitted in this category should improve access to and consumption of specialty crops in underserved communities and/or improve the public's knowledge and understanding of specialty crop agriculture and its beneficial importance to the health and well-being of all Californians. There are 6 program priorities in this category. As mentioned, Funding Category B is the Access, Education, and Training funding area that has changed this year. It is now called Equity, Opportunity, and Education for All California Specialty Crop Farmers. Proposals submitted to this funding category should benefit current and future specialty crop farmers by providing education and training, including improving equity through culturally appropriate education and training for socially disadvantaged farmers in areas including business development and regulatory compliance. There are 7 program priorities in this funding category. This slide shows the first 3, and here are the last 4. Note that the last 2 priorities are the priorities mentioned that address changes due to COVID-19. The last funding area, Research, has 3 funding categories. Funding Category A is called Environmental Stewardship and Conservation. Proposals submitted to this category should address specialty crop agriculture's potential to mitigate and/or adapt to climate change, contribute to conservation of agricultural land and water, and/or enhance soil health. This funding category has 5 program priorities. Funding Category B in the research funding area is called Plant Health and Pest Management. Proposals submitted to this funding category should address pests and diseases that affect the production of California specialty crops. There are 4 program priorities in this category. The final funding category in the research funding area is Category C, Food Safety. For this funding category, CDFA partners with the Center for Produce Safety, or CPS, to utilize the technical expertise of their grant reviewers in the area of food safety. The Center for Produce Safety releases a separate solicitation, conducts a technical review, and submits recommendations to CDFA. The deadline to submit a preliminary food safety proposal is Tuesday, November 10th at 12 noon Pacific Time. Please visit their website for more information. In addition, CPS contact information is provided in the RFCP and at the end of this presentation for those interested in submitting a food safety proposal. The final funding area is the Additional Assistance Program. The intent of this program is to facilitate the participation of organizations that have been historically underrepresented in the SCBGP. Please note that to be eligible to apply, applicants must be a nonprofit organization or a tribal government that has not previously received SCBGP funding and have knowledge and experience in either supporting socially disadvantaged and beginning farmers or providing nutrition education and/or access to specialty crops in underserved communities. Applicants to the Additional Assistance Program will complete the same questionnaire and attachments as all other funding areas and go through a technical review. And concept proposals selected for advancement in this program will receive assistance from CDFA in developing a full proposal for submission to the USDA. In addition, this funding area includes some additional requirements. As mentioned, only nonprofit organizations and tribal governments are eligible for this program. This means that individuals, for-profit organizations, local, state, and federal government entities, and public or private colleges and universities are not eligible to apply. If you are a first-time applicant to the SCBGP, it is not mandatory for you to apply to the Additional Assistance Program. However, organizations who do apply to the Additional Assistance Program cannot apply to any other funding category. And organizations can submit no more than one proposal to the Additional Assistance Program. So in other words, your one application to the Additional Assistance Program can be the only application you submit to the SCBGP for 2021. Proposals submitted to this program can only request funds between $25,000 and $100,000, and the maximum project duration is 2 years. The Additional Assistance Program has two funding categories. The first funding category is Category A, supporting beginning and socially disadvantaged specialty crop farmers. Proposals submitted to this funding category should benefit beginning and/or socially disadvantaged specialty crop farmers through education and training and increase socially disadvantaged farmer engagement with the agricultural industry. For this funding category, applicants may select any of the program priorities in Funding Area 2, which is Access, Education, and Training, Category B, which is the Equity, Opportunity, and Education for All Specialty Crop Farmers funding category, and/or one of the 4 program priorities specific to the Supporting Beginning and Socially Disadvantaged Specialty Crop Farmers funding category. Funding Category B is called Improving Specialty Crop Nutrition Education and Access for All Californians. Proposals submitted to this category should improve the public's knowledge and understanding of specialty crop agriculture and its beneficial importance to the health and well-being of all Californians, and/or improve access to and consumption of specialty crops in underserved communities. For this funding category, applicants may select any of the program priorities in Funding Area 2, Access, Education, and Training, Category A, which is the Healthy Specialty Crops for All Californians funding category, and/or one of the 2 program priorities specific to the Supporting Beginning and Socially Disadvantaged Specialty Crop Farmers funding category. Concept proposals for the SCBGP are submitted through a web-based application provided through a partnership with the State Water Resources Control Board. As mentioned, the web-based application is called the Financial Assistance Application Submittal Tool, but it's primarily known as FAST, and all proposals must be submitted electronically using FAST. Each applicant will need to set up a user account to access FAST, and FAST will also be where feedback from the administrative and technical reviews will be made available. A webinar that provides a live demonstration walking you through how to use the FAST system is offered as part of our webinar series. A complete concept proposal must provide information for each of the areas listed here. As mentioned before, the concept proposal questions and FAST webinar covers the elements of the concept proposal in detail. Please note that at this time, the USDA has not provided CDFA or any other state Department of Agriculture with a request for applications or the terms and conditions for the 2021 Specialty Crop Block Grant Program. If necessary, CDFA will prepare and make available a supplement to the RFCP to advise applicants of any changes to the program upon receipt of the USDA's request for applications. CDFA and all applicants will be subject to the terms and conditions of the USDA's request for applications and terms and conditions. Because funding for the SCBGP is provided by the federal government, all organizations submitting concept proposals to the SCBGP are subject to the federal cost principles. Federal cost principles are regulations based on organization type used to determine allowable costs and ensure consistent treatment of costs. Applicants are responsible for identifying the federal cost principles appropriate for their organization and ensuring consistent application of the cost principles to the SCBGP grant funds. All organizations other than for-profit organizations are subject to the administrative requirements and cost principles in the 2 CFR 200. For-profit organizations are subject to the 48 CFR subpart 31.2. Links to these regulations have been provided in the RFCP. However, to help simplify the interpretation of these regulations, we have provided an allowable and unallowable cost and activities table reference. The table provides overall guidance for the handling of common costs and includes USDA and CDFA requirements specific to this program. A link to the online document is provided in the RFCP. Note that proposals with unallowable costs may be subject to disqualification, so we strongly encourage you to make use of this reference. Please be aware that any of the following may also result in the disqualification of a concept proposal. Proposals from individual applicants, incomplete proposals, including proposals with one or more unanswered questions and/or missing, blank, unreadable, corrupt, or otherwise unusable attachments. Proposals that include additional documentation of any kind to circumvent the character limitations within the FAST system. Proposals that include activities outside the grant duration. Proposals for less than the minimum award amount or more than the maximum award amount. Proposals with unallowable costs or activities necessary to complete the project objectives, which includes indirect costs that exceed the limits set forth in the RFCP. Proposals with altered, amended, or replaced outcome measures, indicators, and/or sub-indicators in the outcome measures template. And proposals submitted to the Additional Assistance Program by organizations that are ineligible to apply. We would also like to note that having an active exclusion in the Federal System for Award Management, or SAM, may also be grounds for disqualification of a proposal. To learn more about registering in SAM or to determine your organization's current status, please visit sam.gov. In addition, we will conduct 3 rounds of questions and answers, or Q&A. Any questions that you may have can be submitted via email to grants@cdfa.ca.gov at any time during the Q&A process. To ensure everyone has an equal opportunity to receive the same information, we do request that questions received be in writing. And to maintain the integrity of the competitive process, questions received will become part of the Q&A that will be posted to the CDFA SCBGP website. Please refer to the RFCP for the Q&A schedule. Note that the final deadline to submit questions is October 19th by 8 a.m. Pacific time. And here are some of the resources discussed in this presentation. A good place to start is the CDFA SCBGP website, and here again is the grant's email address to submit questions. We've also provided the website and phone number for the Center for Produce Safety and the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service website, which contains a lot of great information about the SCBGP. However, please note that you should direct all questions to CDFA, as the USDA will always refer you back to us. And that concludes this presentation.